Hi, I'm Michael Bean, and this is your free lesson for myfreeactingclass.com for, what was today, Wednesday, September the 16th, 2020. Today, we were supposed to have our guest, Josh Zaharia, and unfortunately, he sent me an email saying, "Oh my God, I've got a huge audition that I have to take." And this is the life of the working actor. So he's going to come next week, and maybe you will appreciate him that much more for his scarcity. Like, man, oh, I'm so excited about Josh, and now I'm extra excited. So, given that this week's Actors Challenge is a comedy, I thought that this would be a great time to review comedy. And so we're going to look quickly at a script from the TV show Mr. Young. I was considering this, for an Actors Challenge in the future, but I think it'll actually make a better exercise to simply look at it in class. I'm going to talk about comedy a little bit, just some kind of general terms, and then or general ideas, and then we're going to go right into it. So I pulled up a couple of fun quotes from the internet because everybody likes a visual. So this is from an actor named, where are we? Stan Laurel from a comedy duo from a very long time ago. Friends once asked me what comedy was. That floored me. What is comedy? I don't know. Does anybody? Can you define it? All I know is I learned how to get laughs, and that's all I know about it. You have to learn what people will laugh at and proceed accordingly. Now, I looked at a bunch of comedy quotes on the internet to get us started, and this is the one that I like the best. And of course, this fits with my general teaching strategy, which is this idea of there is no right or wrong, there's only more or less effective. I think that the folks who want to write long essays about here's what's funny and we're going to break it down into 19 different parts, they should write books and papers and teach in universities. And the thing that I am most interested in is what makes people laugh, and can we just practice that and see if it works? If so, a lot of comedy in my experience has to do with you enjoying yourself. And generally speaking, if I work with somebody who comes across like they have great comedy instincts, it's because they've watched a lot of that kind of comedy, or they've done a lot of that kind of comedy, either with their friends or on stage, or a lot of the time it's just somebody who loves that kind of comedy so much they watched it over and over and over again. Then this quote from Aaron Alston: "The difference between tragedy and comedy. Tragedy is something awful happening to somebody else, while comedy is something awful happening to somebody else." And so this in particular, this quote about tragedy is something awful happening to somebody else, comedy is something awful happening to somebody else, I want to use as the framework for talking about consequences. And I like to think of comedy to drama as a spectrum. I find it helpful to think about where you've got pure drama on one end and pure comedy on the other. And the further you are into pure comedy, the lower your consequences are. Right? So tragedy, pure drama, very high consequences. Something happens physically, huge consequences. Something happens emotionally, huge consequences. The story is basically going to be about that thing. Comedy, something physical happens, almost no consequences or zero consequences. Pure comedy, something emotional happens, almost zero consequences. And so the sort of classic or stock example, is I'm doing a scene with Deborah. Deborah hits me in the head with a frying pan. Boom! Now, if it's pure drama, I die. And Deborah ends up on trial, or she spends the rest of the series like hiding from the law. Maximum physical consequences, I'm dead. Maximum emotional consequences, she's racked with guilt and shame. Maximum story consequences, people are like hunting for her and her family disowns her and they're like, how could you kill Michael Bean with that frying pan? You're a bad person. She's like, I am a bad person. She's all torn up inside. She's still going to be thinking about it in season 3. Pure comedy. So like the script that we're going to look at today from the TV show Mr. Young, which is a very silly show made for very young children here in Vancouver. It was a multi-camera sitcom, which means it's being shot in theater style with multiple cameras at the same time. They basically rehearse it like they would a theater scene. They've recorded some of the scenes before, but a bunch of them are recording with a live audience. And the cameras are further away, so everybody has to be louder. Very broad, very silly. Pure comedy. Deborah hits me in the head with a frying pan. Boom! I bounce immediately back up, and I'm like, "Come back here, Deborah!" And Deborah runs away, and I run after her. The zero physical consequences for me being hit in the head with a frying pan. Zero emotional consequences. And it's not a perfect system because like action movies often have extremely low consequences, right? Like I get shot, and and then I'm like, ah! And the next scene, I'm like throwing high kicks. It's gone by the next scene. Very low consequences. So it's not a perfect system. Because I think if we just used that one measure, then most action movies would be like almost pure comedy. But it's a way of looking at a script to go like, where am I in the world of consequences? From comedy to drama, I'm about halfway. There's some consequences, and that goes for emotional things too. Right, so I'm in a scene with Dia, and Dia and I are friends, and we're out in a public place, and then Dia says or does something that like just humiliates me. She's like, "Ha ha! You've got boogers on your nose," and everybody's like, "Ah!" And I'm just like ashamed of myself. Right, in pure drama, huge emotional consequences. I'm gonna be like, "Oh my gosh, Dia hates me, and everybody laughed at me," and I'm like, I'm ashamed of myself, or I'm mad at Dia. And again, I'm still going to be thinking about it at the end of season 1. Like, how do I get revenge on Dia for this embarrassing thing she did? In pure comedy, I'm going to be like, "Ball!" And everybody's going to laugh. And then 30 seconds later, Dia and I are going to be walking to the coffee shop, talking about something completely unrelated, and we'll have zero emotional consequences by the next scene. Right? So again, just thinking about consequences is a really useful way to think about how far into pure comedy are you. So the next scene that we're going to look at is from a TV show called Mr. Young, almost zero consequence, or really like a zero consequence. This is the kind of show where somebody gets stuffed into a garbage can, and then he pops up, takes the banana peel off his head, and starts chatting with the guy who just walked up to him. Right, there's a scene where like the bully like pounds someone into a locker, and the next scene you see the guy like get up, dust himself off, and start an unrelated conversation with his friend. So what I need is somebody to read Mr. Young, who is the 14-year-old genius, and I need somebody to read his older sister. I know you're going to want to volunteer, Caden, but not like it's really important to get the dialogue fast on this one. So when we start looking at it for single lines, we can. But for right now, I think I'm going to get some of the older folks to read. Thank you so much for volunteering. Dia, you want to read one of the characters? Okay. Do you want to be the older sister, or do you want to be the smart guy?
Either.
Okay. And I need a volunteer to read the other one. Artie, Candy, Deborah. Don't everybody jump at once. Deborah, you're going to volunteer? Great. Okay. So what we'll do is let's see. Let me just open up the scene. We will get, I think most of the dialogue is Adam. Yep. Okay. So Dia, you read Adam, and Deborah, you read Ivy. So the setup for the show, and these were the actual audition sides for Ivy, the older sister. This was, I found it on YouTube. This is actually the first scene in the first episode of this TV show. And Emily Tennant, who we had as a guest a couple of weeks ago, played Ivy. So I've talked to her extensively about her experience on the show. It's one of the reasons that it's a good example, because I just know more about this one. So I'll read the stage direction. Mr. Young, Ivy sides. Interior, Ivy's car a few minutes later. Ivy drives, Adam is in the passenger seat.
What a beautiful day. I love the way.
No, you're Ivy.
Oh, I'm Ivy. Okay, I misheard that.
That's okay.
What a beautiful day. I love the way the crisp autumn air just What are you doing?
Good. Now, I'm just going to interrupt and say one of the things that really works for this kind of comedy is you take out all the space between the lines. You don't say the lines themselves any faster. You take out all the space in between. So it's, what are you doing? Mom won't let me live without. You will look hot. Ba, 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 ba. The tennis match is one of the things that makes it really work. Now, I'm going to be interrupting that a little bit with the stage direction, but I'll help you out by taking the space out there too. And let's just see if we can keep it rolling along. Adam sees that Ivy has turned to the rearview mirror and is applying makeup as she drives.
Mom won't let me leave the house without wearing makeup. The house wearing makeup, I'm sorry. And I want to look hot.
Adam readjusts the mirror.
You will look hot when you flip the car. It bursts into flames, and we're baked in here like toasted strudel.
Good. Now, remember this is a show for 6-year-olds, Dia. Go back and give me 3 times the volume and 3 times the energy. Like, if it doesn't feel like too much, you're probably not doing enough.
Okay. You will look hot when you flip the car. It bursts into flames, and we're baked in here like toasted strudel.
Now, did you feel yourself fade off on the last word? I talked about this in class a couple of weeks ago, but that de-voicing makes your characters seem less confident, less clear. So just keep an ear out for it for yourself, because it's something that we do in very subtle ways, a lot of us in Vancouver in conversation. And it takes away some of the oomph for your character. Ivy turns the mirror back and continues with her makeup.
Trust me, I can drive and put makeup on at the same time.
Ivy and Adam go up and down as the car goes over a bump.
What was that?
Relax, it was just a piece of wood or a cat, maybe a sleeping hobo.
We are going to die.
Well, if I die, well, if I die, I'll show up at school without makeup. Hutch Anderson broke up with his girlfriend.
Who?
Hutch Anderson, he's tall, rich, popular, good-looking, sort of the anti-you.
Ivy swerves as we hear a screech and a horn honk.
That's it. You cannot steer and put on mascara at the same time.
Fine, I'll take the wheel.
Ivy lifts her hands off the wheel.
I don't have my license.
And I don't have my makeup on.
Ivy Rosen is about to go back to putting on makeup.
Okay, give me that.
Adam takes the makeup and starts applying it for her.
This hutch better be worth it. Go like this.
Puckers his lips. Ivy complies. He puts lipstick on her. Then he starts rubbing stuff on her cheeks.
What are you doing?
Blending. You really should buy a lighter base if you want your eyes to pop.
Ivy pulls over.
Okay, we're here.
Wait, where are we? This isn't school.
Duh, I'm not showing up here with you. You have to walk part way.
But this is further from school than our house is.
I really can't take any chances.
We hear a howl.
Is that a coyote?
Don't worry, it's just a pee. Just pee a circle around yourself and bare your teeth.
But...
No, not but, your teeth. Now out you go.
Ivy shoves Adam out, then peels away.
What a bozo.
Ivy smiles. We reveal that Adam has made her up in full clown makeup, white face, red nose, etc. And then I think she spends the rest of the whole day in clown makeup, not realizing, and nobody tells her because it's pure comedy. So timing-wise, do you see how this joke only works if it's very, very fast?
Yeah.
So just read these lines one more time, and Deborah, basically keep going. Only take the very tiniest pause for her to say "but," and so that it's all the way through.
Okay.
Does that make sense?
Okay.
Try this again.
Okay. Don't worry, just pee a circle around yourself and bare your teeth.
But...
No,
not.
Do it again, Dia. You've got to be faster.
Faster.
On that cue if you can. And then maybe you're getting Zoom lag. We don't know.
Yeah,
no,
okay.
Not you, Deborah, but we just want Dia to really take all the space. So it's teeth, but no, not your butt. It's got to, I'm not saying this is brilliant comedy. This is comedy that is extremely well written for 5 and 6 year olds. But just so you get pure comedy idea. Go ahead.
Okay. Don't worry, just pee a circle around yourself and bare your teeth.
But...
No, not your butt, your teeth. Now out you go.
Good, and we would need to take out even those spaces. So it was really teeth, but no, not your butt, your teeth. The timing ends up being so important with comedy in terms of telling the story. So if we look at just here at this first page, there's physicality, right? I love the way that Chris Bonavera what are you doing? Right, you will look hot. We flip the car, burst into flames. We're baked in here like toasted strudel. They go over a bump. right, it was just a piece of wood or a cat or maybe a sleeping hobo, right? Zero emotional consequences, right? The writing is silly. It's written for very young children. It's very broad. And the way you can think about this no or low emotional consequences is that the characters have huge feelings a lot of the time, but we are not worried that they're going to carry it with them later. And so it's a really interesting balance to strike where it's huge feelings, but they're really surface feelings. It's not, if I'm really upset and worried I'm going to die, it's not like a drama where I'm worried and I'm upset I'm going to die and it's right in here and I'm going to go home and I'm not going to get any sleep and you're like, whoa, wow, that guy's really worried he's going to die. In this kind of pure comedy, it's like, oh my God, we're going to die. And then like 15 seconds later, I can be like, what are you doing? Oh my gosh, okay, let's talk about the thing Bumpy just went over. Like it's, they are passing through me very quickly. And I think that in some ways, that's reflective of the audience. So one way to think of it is that comedy sometimes reflects the emotional life of the audience. Right? So you see these comedies that are written for, regardless of the age of the characters, the audience is teen boys. It's got a particular sort of flavor to it. Or this comedy that we just looked at, the audience, is like I said, 5 and 6 year olds. And so the emotions are very simple, very straightforward. They don't have complex emotional lives because they have the emotional lives of 5 and 6 year olds. They're either really happy or really scared or really sad. And I'm not saying that kids that age can't feel more things than that. But in terms of appreciating story, if you give them stories where characters are having complex feelings at the same time, most kids in that age range simply won't understand what's happening. And so you can think of it like children's theater, if that helps you. That's one way to think about it. Because I think the mistake that a lot of actors make is they read something like this as though it's made for them. And so then they come away judging it. And their judgment is, this material is dumb. Like, this is ridiculous. Nobody talks this way. Nobody acts this way. I can't do this and have this be real. And so if we come back to, I'm an actor, that means my job is to tell a story, thinking about the audience and who the audience is can sometimes get you out of that mindset. And that can be true with comedy. It can also be true if you hate Hallmark movies. Right? There are a lot of Hallmark movies that shoot here in town. Like, make your peace with that fantasy world if you can. Right? Why would you refuse to act in something like that? You don't ever have to watch one if you don't want to. Some people feel that way about science fiction or horror movies, or that you just look at the material as an interesting storytelling challenge and you try and find something that's real for yourself inside of it. So consequences, that was the first thing that I wanted to talk about with comedy. And the other is big feelings about stupid stuff. Right? So if Dia is playing the brother, and she reacts when she sees her sister putting on lipstick as though it's the end of the world, and it's not, right? Remember, it's not deep emotional consequences react. It's big, huge reaction out here, but it's like, oh my God, we're gonna die, like huge end of the world. And she really commits to it. And she really goes for it as a good actor. Then we can laugh because it's really clear that she's overreacting. So the circumstances set it up, but then Dia does it a lot with her timing and her commitment to it. And I think that the mistake that I see actors make when they approach comedy is they give it that full commitment, but they give it too much consequences. They're like, oh my God, we're gonna die. And it's really hard to laugh at somebody who's like that, because we're like, wow, I'm looking at Dia and it really looks like she thinks she's gonna die. And it's hard for me to think that's funny. Right? And I'm talking about sort of pure comedy. Now, obviously, you can get into a lot of quality writing, is in that kind of dramedy area, where the characters are being totally honest and the circumstances do the comedy. But again, you're not playing the comedy necessarily. The further you are into pure comedy, the more I think you have to understand some of the timing and the audience, and there's more technical aspects to it. So the other thing that I wanted to go over today, right? Consequences, big feelings about stupid stuff, and then pacing or timing, right? So one of the things I talked about as we went through, which was taking out all the space in between the lines. And then one of the others is what's called a flip or a turn. And I've gone over this before, but I think it's useful to go over multiple times with examples. So Dia, if you don't mind continuing to be my example, I'm going to pull up the script again, and I'm going to show you there's a hard flip. You're right here in the beginning. Now if this was drama, then it would be like, and then I'm going to notice something is happening, and I'm going to take time, and oh my God, but if it's pure comedy, I'm going to do as hard a flip as possible, because the goal is to make little kids laugh. And so what you want is to be like, yay, 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 ah! Huge, like really hard flip, no transition between the two things. Do you understand what I'm asking?
Yeah.
Great.
The contrast between, right?
It's the contrast between them, exactly. Whereas with drama, you would you might kind of blend them together, because you're wanting to be really honest in your transitions. In comedy, technically, one of the things you can do is you can make very abrupt transitions.
Okay.
So let's hear what that might sound like.
Okay. Oh, what a beautiful day. I love the way the crisp autumn air just... What are you doing?
Good. Now, can you go even further with the happiness? As though there's like birds chirping, and remember, if you're not going too far, it's probably not enough for this kind of material. Unless you're very familiar with comedy, this kind of material often feels broad or too much, because it is too much for adults, right? It is too much for a dramatic show. And then instead of the gasp, I really need you to halfway through the word just suddenly cut yourself off with a radically different feeling. And it's tricky. So try it again. We'll try it a couple of times.
What a beautiful day. I just love the... Okay, wait, I can do it again.
Yeah, you got this. Yeah, even bigger, even bigger. I know it feels silly.
What a beautiful day. I mean, I love the crisp autumn air. It just... What are you doing?
Good. Now without the gasp and pause. I know. It's really tricky, but take it all out, so it's really, so that you don't even finish saying the word just. And you can't anticipate it, because then we can hear it in the timing. So try it again.
What a beautiful day. I just love the way the crisp autumn air... What are you doing?
See, there's the big gasp again. I know, because you want to play it dramatically, and you want to hear the reaction. And what we need is to surprise the audience with the line. Again, get that big flip. If she gets it, you've heard it so many times that you all won't be surprised, you won't laugh, but hopefully you'll get the idea. And then I'm going to show you a little clip of the scene from the actual show in a minute. So one more time, Dia.
What a beautiful day.
That's one of the issues. So one of the problems is that you're breathing all your air out, and that's why you're running out of air right about here. So now take a deep breath and use the breath to speak.
Okay. What a beautiful day. I love the way the crisp autumn air... What are you doing?
Yeah, see, you were closer. You're closer.
I get the breathing.
I know. It's so strange, this technical timing thing that happens. But we don't need a perfect take of it. We just need you to understand it, right? And I think that actually working your way towards it or doing it imperfectly gets it in your body better than if somebody's nails it immediately. This is one of the reasons that, in my opinion, it is useful to take class, is because you get to see other people making their mistakes, and working towards the finished product. If you only watched movies, it'd be hard to learn how to be an actor, because you would basically only see the perfect version of it, that has been edited and fixed and rehearsed, over and over again. So let me quickly show you the beginning of that scene from the actual movie, or from the actual TV show, rather.
First day of school. Don't you just... What are you doing?
Right? There's a laugh track. And Emily said that when in table reads, when the producers were all sitting around, that sometimes the producers would give the laughs, right? So it would be, what are you doing? And then the producer would go, ha 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 ha, so that everybody would know that they needed to pause until the laugh was over. Very unique to multi-camera sitcom where there's going to be rehearsing with a live audience.
Put my game face on. Hutch Anderson broke up with his girlfriend.
What was that?
Relax, it was just a piece of wood. Or a cat. Or maybe a sleeping hobo.
Oh, we are going
Okay, now both of those actors are actually people who I've worked with before in class, and they're both really skilled actors. This is material that is written and made for a very young audience, right? Like I don't think that you have to enjoy it on a audience level, to appreciate that there is skill going into it. And so I think it was worth looking at just because I had the audition sides. So let me pull up the script for the Actors Challenge so we can take a quick look at that. Now we looked at this yesterday. I'm going to put the link in here to the chat window again. Also, if you go to, so that's this week's Actors Challenge. There's 3 characters. You can play any of the 3 characters. One of the challenges is having multiple eye lines. So one key character who's the person you're talking to, and then a secondary eye line for the other character they have a different relationship with, just the other side of the screen. Regardless of your age, you can play, or gender or presentation or whatever you like. You can play Hank or Tilly or Maddie. So you've got lots of options there. You also can find details from this if you go to the My Free Acting Class website, and I will just show you that quickly. So if you go to the website, here it is, myfreeactingclass.com. You scroll all the way down to the bottom. You can find the script here. You click on this link, it should automatically take you there. And the link to the email address where you send it after you've uploaded it, and even the link to yesterday's lesson where we broke down the script in more detail. So if we look at that script here and just kind of approach it from looking for where are the consequences, big feelings about stupid stuff, and looking for those flips. If we're just going to look for those things, we're pretty close to 4:30. So, hey, there she is, Maddie. You remember Grady? Hey, is there any place in this terrible state that actually has good cell reception? And that's where you can imagine if it was a almost pure comedy or multicam, they'd be like, ha 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 ha. But I think that this is probably somewhere in between, just based on Kelsey Grammer. I haven't gone and looked at clips of the show. If you want to do more prep than we did yesterday, go see if you can find a clip of the trailer, and that might give you a sense of this. Honey, come on, Tilly, let me handle this. Look moody, Maddie. Very important to have that your transition be very tight. What? You called me moody? No, I didn't. Think you did. No, we didn't. Yeah, I think you did. Boom, boom, boom. Quick, quick, quick. Moody Maddie, is that what you would call me behind my back? No, I just, your mother. You think I'm moody? Am I too moody for you? You don't like all my moods, right? These are underlined. In this kind of comedy, not only you're going to put in a build to it. Now, something that you heard Emily do, and I don't know if you clocked it, but where she was like, she didn't say, when they went over the bump, she didn't say, oh, it's a piece of wood or a cat or a sleeping hobo, everything's on the same line. She had a different relationship with each thing. So if you're doing Maddie in this, it would be a mistake to go, you think I'm moody? Am I too moody for you? You don't like all my moods? Same tone, same relationship, same meaning, especially with comedy. You're going to want to play with it and play with it and play with it and give each one of these a different and distinct opinion about them. Sweetie, I love all of your moods. And then, of course, huge feelings about stupid stuff. So you do think I have moods? Like a big explosion. Huge feelings about stupid stuff. All she says is, I love all your moods. So if you say, so you do think I have moods, like you're saying, like you do think I'm a terrible person, if it really is like the end of the world, then we get to laugh at you, especially if we see that it's not hurting you inside. If you are out here and being sort of exploding it out, it's very outward directed, if that makes sense. All right, so Caden, are you still with me?
Yes.
Great. Okay, I'm going to give you this line. No, sweetie, I love all your moods, and just yell this at the top of your lungs. So you do think I have moods. Fine. Just make a big scene about it. Okay. So your line is, so you do think I have moods. Okay. So what's your line?
So you do think I have moods?
Yeah, but you're going to yell it at the top of your lungs, like super mad. But ready, wait for me to say my line. Just look at me and glower. Just give me like you're already mad. So no, sweetie, I love all your moods.
So you think I have moods?
And then say, fine, and stomp off.
Fine.
Right? Like so you get a sense of it, right? And you can imagine that like if Caden went even further so that we actually believed he was angry and he was even louder, then it would be clear that it was okay to laugh at him. You know, right? So he's still being a good actor, you know, but he is inside of this format, letting us know that this is comedy and we can laugh. So regardless of which character you play, there's some good stuff to find in there. You know, Tilly's got some great reactions. One of the challenging and interesting things about it is that none of the characters have very much dialogue, but all of them need to react to the things that are happening and have multiple relationships they're managing at a time. So I hope that if we get, same deal as usual, if we get 4 people who send me a video of themselves doing the Actors Challenge by Monday, then I will spend Monday's lesson using the Actors Challenge as an example, you know, and going through and saying, you know, here's this thing Caden did, you know, and look at Deborah's background, and we'll use that as the sort of your visual aids, you know, for the camera lesson, you know, while also giving you some feedback on your self-tapes. You know, and even in the last couple of weeks, I've seen people take the notes from one Monday and carry them over into the next self-tape. It's not about being perfect. You just can grab one thing and use it to improve the following week's tape. So thanks for making time to show up. You know, hopefully we'll see some of you tomorrow.
Bye.
Bye.
Thank
Thank you, Michael B.
My pleasure. Bye.
Thanks. Bye.